Hi, my name is Kat Davis, and I'm one of the final five for the Beal Scholarship. We were asked to tell why we feel we deserve this scholarship, and I really struggled with this prompt because I never considered any of my achievements very noteworthy. I approached this by asking people who were close to me to tell me what they felt were my greatest accomplishments. They were all easily able to answer. There was academic success, athletics, earning an appointment to the Air Force Academy, but for some reason, none of the answers felt right. In fact, each one left me feeling as if I had just wasted the last 4 years of my life. I prayed about the topic, but it didn't feel like God was showing me any answers. That was until one night during my devotion, it referenced a song by Switchfoot titled "We're Gonna Be Alright," very current for the current condition of the world. The song says, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to learn to fall, it's okay to believe, to admit you're human after all. These lyrics in the devotion really spoke to me, and I felt like in His own way, God had answered my prayer for clarity and my call for help. So, I feel I deserve this scholarship because I am resilient. Before I begin, I would like to clarify that this is not a sob story, this is a success story. When I was 10, my father, who never had more than sneezing from allergies, died of a heart attack. At the time, I didn't understand what death was. No one close to me had ever died. All I knew was that I wouldn't see him again for a long time. For what seemed like an eternity, my family and I barely made it. There was hardly any living, lots of crying, and even more heartbreaks. When it felt like my family's strength would give out, there was Jim. Jim knew heartbreak and loss. To my 10-year-old eyes, Jim was the strongest person alive. He was seemingly invincible. Later I learned it wasn't invincibility that set Jim apart from everyone else, it was his resilience. The day he and my mom got married, I decided that I wanted to be like Jim, and from that point on, I learned what resilience meant. Over the next 7 years, my resilience would be tested time and time again. There was 7th grade basketball. Being the daughter of a legendary basketball player did me no good. I was horrible. Every day I came home from practice crying, swearing I would quit the next day. I never did though. Every time I would get back out there and I would try again. Then there was freshman volleyball. Like my 7th grade experience, I cried daily. But something had changed. I no longer promised that I would quit. Instead, I gritted my teeth and I worked harder. I begged Maddie Payne to give me one more set, Michaela Anderson to spike it at me a little harder, and Tammy Dills to let me just stay 5 more minutes. There was the beginning of my higher math sophomore year. Natalie Gray and Miss Brenda Pewitt, 2 of the smartest people I know, dragged me through pre-calc, kicking and screaming. By the end, I told myself I would never take another math class again, but the following year, I decided to take both Calc 1 and Calc 2. This time, it was more than just barely getting through. I actually enjoyed the challenge and enjoyed the classes, despite the occasional all-nighters and failed tests. Junior year was the real test. I became determined to graduate with my associate degree, having zero ideas of what I was getting myself into. I ended up deciding to shoot for the associate in science, not art, a degree that required nearly 10 more courses, all of which were higher maths and sciences. Time after time, I found myself saying that I couldn't do it. But here I sit, a week and a half from my college graduation, where I would be receiving 2 degrees. Junior year also brought what I thought would define me for life. During volleyball season, I began to notice that I couldn't move without feeling like my joints were on fire. Over time, the fire spread from my joints to my skin. Soon I developed a rash across my entire back and legs that turned out to be shingles. Over the next 3 months, I was in constant pain. Despite this, I continued to play volleyball and attend school. By the end of the semester, it had only gotten worse. Everyone told me it was just burnout from school, sports, and the shingles, but I knew something was off. Over the next month, I got even more worse. Eventually, I was unable to walk from one class to another without getting sick. One morning, I woke up and I felt a cold spot on my head, and upon inspection, we saw what looked like a burnt patch of skin on my scalp. Within the next month and a half, I lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, and only had 15% of my hair on my head remaining. At this time in my life, there was no resilience. I was defeated by myself, by the circumstances, and by alopecia. I didn't find my will to fight, my will to rise above it and be resilient until I was approached by a teacher at school. She told me that she'd been struggling with alopecia and that she was there to talk. She reminded me that I was brave and beautiful, even if I didn't feel like it. Next, a friend of my mom brought her daughter to see me. The little girl showed me her balding spots, but she didn't seem ashamed of them. She told me that now she would get to have a mohawk just like her brother. I had to be resilient for the teacher, the little girl, every person with alopecia, and every female who lost their hair. I took back my life with a pair of kitchen shears. At 1 a.m, my family gathered around as my mom cut the small remains over the kitchen trash can. That was my resilience. For so long, I had been hopeless, scared to see myself in the mirror, afraid of the word sick. Even when I thought there was no fight left in me, there was no strength to rise, I managed to stand up. My resilience was tested after that as well. Senior year, I was in a hospital, and re-entering life seemed impossible. But I persevered, I made it, and I knew everything was going to be alright. So why do I deserve this scholarship? Because through high school, I worked hard. I devoted myself to academics and sports. I made mistakes. I fell down 100 times. But each time I got up and I overcame. I deserve this scholarship because you can know that no matter what happens in the future, I will be strong enough to get through it and keep going. I deserve this scholarship because I am resilient. Thank you. The next prompt we were given was to address how we would pay for college if we are not awarded the scholarship. I'm attending Young Harris, which was not my plan until very recently. Originally, I was going to go to the United States Air Force Academy, which would be debt-free. I was even given an appointment. I decided to stay close to home for gym. Over the last year, where my health hasn't been the best, neither has his. In 10 years, the Air Force will still be there, but gym may not be. This change is quite expensive as Young Harris is a private college. If not gifted this scholarship, then I plan to continue working as I do now. I'm currently a waitress at Rib Country, a very tough job to have during this lockdown. On top of waitressing, I plan to do a work study job at Young Harris and try to make the monthly payments. As you can see, I do have a plan, if not awarded the scholarship, but it comes at a great cost. If awarded, I'd be given the opportunity to join clubs, study abroad, and focus solely on school. Thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your day to listen to my story.